Frankly, I find the idea of a bug that thinks offensive.
Starship Troopers is a 1997 sci-fi action film based on the book of the same name from 1959. Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers novel carries a slightly different tone from the movie and is more of a serious discussion on political topics such as the right to vote, citizenship, and federal service. The core of the story is still there. You follow the tale of a young Johnny Rico, as he enlists and climbs the ranks, with flashbacks and moments in between conflicts used to expand on Heinlein's unique political values. Fun fact, the Starship Troopers novel is on the required and/or recommended reading list for most major military academies, which only speaks to the philosophical concepts being put forth in the book. Several decades later in the 90s, writer Edward Neumeier was shopping a script around called Bug Hunt at Outpost 7, which was eventually picked up and turned into a direct retelling of Heinlein's plot from the novel. Well, direct enough anyway. Thus, Starship Troopers the movie began development with TriStar Pictures. Paul Verhoeven of RoboCop and Total Recall fame was brought in to direct, and if you have seen his work, then you know he is no stranger to using violence and heavy-handed symbolism to get his points across. I mean, film is a mostly visual medium, so I can't judge the guy for putting it right in front of your face. As a quick side note, for whatever reason, Total Recall was one of my mother's favorite films growing up, so I've seen the original so many times I can almost quote the entire film. It did lead to a lot of mixed emotions as a kid because Michael Ironsides was such a dick in Total Recall, but like the best boss ever in Starship Troopers.
Make it 20 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Iconic actor right there. The movie apparently lingered in the development phase for a few years before getting the green light to move into pre-production and start making stuff. And the first thing they put out was a short video dubbed The Bug Test that was shown to studio execs who were impressed enough to finally approve the film. There were still budget concerns, mostly due to the recent flop of big budget films like Waterworld, which led to TriStar bringing on a partner to split cost and profits, with the new partner, Touchstone Pictures, receiving all distribution rights outside of the US and Canada. Touchstone Pictures is really just the label that Disney would put on films that they thought had a more adult audience, so remember that the mouse has always had his hands in everything. So I'm sure there are some more fun stories around the creation of this film, stuff like the fact that Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon both auditioned for the role of Johnny Rico, or that Paul Verhoeven filmed the famous shower scene while also being nude himself. But let's get on to talking about the actual movie. Imagine either of those castings, though.
Fortune favors the brave.
What? No.
Now, Starship Troopers is a movie that on its surface can just be some fun action schlock that sees soldiers fighting, dying, and lots of bugs getting blown to bits. The truer points of this movie really shine through in the heavy-handed propaganda that is sprinkled throughout and used as transition scenes. It pulled no punches and opens on a live-action news report from the invasion of the Arachnid homeworld, Klendathu, where we see things are not exactly going well for our human heroes. This little peek into what is to come ends with our main character Johnny getting stabbed by a warrior bug before cutting back to 1 year earlier. We then see the cast as high schoolers about to graduate and also introduced to their teacher Mr. Razak. They use a lot of this time to establish the setting and show how joining federal service is something a lot of people in this world set out to do, although wealthy people like Johnny's family don't see the point since they have it so good. Johnny decides to enlist so he can follow his current girlfriend Carmen, but alongside their friend Carl, played by Doogie himself, they all end up testing into different branches of the military. Carl gets military intelligence, Carmen is headed off to the flight academy, and poor dumb jock Johnny gets assigned to the mobile infantry. I always loved the bit with the guy at the recruiting station.
Infantry, sir.
Good for you. Mobile infantry made me the man I am today.
This tongue-in-cheek moment is said and delivered with perfect sincerity, and even Johnny doesn't really seem to get it the way that we, the audience, do. To me, this was always the first major moment that made me realize this was satire, and is the moment I like to watch people's reactions when showing them the film for the first time. Probably the most in-your-face one of these bits in my opinion. So with the friends all going their separate ways, we see Johnny go through basic training and make new friends along the way, Jake Busey for the win. We also learn that Johnny's high school friend and football teammate Dizzy has joined up and even requested transfer to this famed training unit. Dizzy has always had a thing for Johnny, but he never returned those feelings, so there's some slight unfinished business between these two. They all start learning to work together and bond as a unit when a terrible accident leads to the death of a recruit during a live fire training exercise. This leads to Johnny facing administrative punishment in the form of a public lashing, with him deciding to go back home and leave the service due to his failure and the fact that Carmen dumped him pretty much as soon as she could. Should have seen that one coming, bro. Sorry. Here's the twist. As Johnny is leaving the base, an asteroid that was launched toward Earth impacts and destroys his hometown of Buenos Aires. This inspires him to revoke his resignation, and go get some revenge on the bugs. This is what brings us back to the opening scene of the invasion on Clendathu, but this time we're following Johnny and his squad as they excitedly rush off to war, only to get their shit firmly pushed back in by the overwhelming Arachnid forces. Good guy Johnny even tries to save the news crew, leading to that stab in the leg we mentioned earlier. Hats off to this cameraman. This guy really tries to keep capturing the exciting stuff right up until his own death. That is the dedication of a citizen. Johnny is declared killed in action in this operation, but was actually rescued by friendly forces and brought back to the fleet for medical attention. He and his surviving friends are soon transferred to a new unit that has a strong reputation for being badasses, the Roughnecks.
Ratcats, Roughnecks!
Once there, we learn that their hard-ass lieutenant is none other than Johnny's former teacher, Razjak. This guy has some of the coolest lines in the movie, and I think he speaks to the ideas of service and making the best of a tough situation in a way that respects the plight of the individual soldier without getting into the politics of why you may be in hell. This is what you do in this world if you want to have more rights, and Razjak only has one rule in his unit.
Everyone fights, no one quits. You don't do your job, I'll shoot you.
We see the Roughnecks go through a few engagements and Johnny's star continues to rise, with him climbing the ranks pretty quickly. While patrolling Planet P, the Roughnecks learn that the bugs may be smarter than previously thought, with them even staging an ambush on the humans while they're securing a destroyed base. The platoon is in last stand mode when a rescue ship comes down to try and pull them out, and this sadly leads to the deaths of both Lieutenant Razjak and Dizzy. They both go out like heroes, but this movie shows you pretty clearly that no one really gets to go on their own terms, and death is final no matter how bravely you face it. This leaves Johnny in charge of the unit, and they learn from their old friend Carl, now a colonel and rocking a style not seen since Hugo Boss was designing uniforms back in the 40s, that the ambush on Planet P was a test to prove the bug's intelligence. This rightfully pisses Johnny off, but by now he's so caught up in the system that all he wants is another chance to go kill bugs. We learn that the plan is to return to Planet P and capture a brain bug. This leads to another full-scale invasion, including the fleet getting wrecked in orbit by bug plasma being launched up at them, and it all just demonstrates the disposable nature of these assets, with Earth just churning out more ships and fresh meat every day. Carmen and her new boyfriend barely make it off of their destroyed ship and crash landed some bug caves on the planet. The warriors injure and capture the two pilots without killing them. Johnny and his platoon are pushing through the caves in search of the objective when he gets a weird premonition that Carmen is still alive and down a side tunnel. This is implied later to have been a psychic suggestion sent by Colonel Doogie to help Johnny rescue their old friend. Oh yeah, some people are developing ESP in this future as well. In order to play it safe, he orders the rest of the unit to proceed and asks for 2 volunteers to join him. Ace and Watkins step up and they set off down the tunnel. We cut back to the pilots in time to watch the brain bug slurp out Xander's brain like boba tea. Carmen avoids this fate by using the knife Xander slipped her to cut off the brain-sucking appendage and forcing the brain bug to switch to paper straws like the rest of us. Before they can devour her in revenge, Johnny and crew come in holding an armed mini-nuke as a threat to the brain bug. This really confirms its intelligence as the bugs all hold their attack knowing that these crazy humans will blow themselves up. They rescue Carmen before the bugs attack, but Watkins is injured in the escape and takes the nuke in order to sacrifice himself for the rest of the crew. I need this as a direct voice line in Helldivers, please. As they make their way outside, we see the rest of the forces celebrating and learn that another soldier has managed to capture the brain bug. The soldier in question happens to be Johnny's former drill instructor who demoted himself down to private so that he could join the fight. This is kind of another key point for this film. It's not the attractive poster kids that end up getting the objective, it's the unsung heroes that get the work done. The movie wraps up with one last propaganda piece, and we see where most of our main cast have ended up. Carmen is the captain of her own new battlecruiser, Carl is heading up the testing and study of the captured brain bug, and Johnny is welcoming even more fresh recruits into the meat grinder that is the mobile infantry, thus showing that these characters did not really learn anything from all of this, and are honestly just more victims of their society and the service-focused culture that comes with it. But that is the point for us, and they were never supposed to get it. They don't know their characters in a story, so there is no lesson for them to learn. It is meant to inspire thought in us as the audience, though, much like Heinlein's novel did many years before, and hopefully shine a light on some of the dangers of fascism and a fanatical attachment to violence, as well as the concept that might makes right. I admit it can be fun to just watch these actors chew up the dialogue and fight bugs with the supreme strategy of the shuffle step and shoot from 3 steps away, but the larger topics are there if you pay attention. I thoroughly enjoy the film either way, and admit that I don't always choose it so I can sit and deep dive the philosophy. Big guns go bang, big bugs die, and we all get to enjoy ourselves. right? If you enjoyed yourself while watching this video, please consider dropping a like and tell me what your favorite parts are in the comments below. Consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos. I'm working through some sci-fi content right now, but I cover video games, cartoons, and movies, so hopefully there is something that you like. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you all for the support as well. I've been Dr. Ursa, and until next time, take care.